Well, I want to put out this video because don't expect oil price to stay down very long. Even though I think they took a little bit of a hit today, it's going to actually, low oil price is going to lead to high oil prices. And I know it's partly to, the Saudis are trying to knock out the competition from the shale oil industry. They're definitely going to be unsuccessful even, well, let me put it this way. On the tar sands, they're definitely not going to knock out the tar sands industry, because once the capital has been expended in the tar sands industry in Canada, basically that means that's the lion's share of it. In other words, once they get going and they got the operation cooking, basically, there's a very low cost of oil production when you're not considering capital expenditures. So they're not going to knock them out. And actually, the USA, they're not going to knock it out either. It's probably going to slow it down. There's probably going to be some mass layoffs, but the capital expenditures are there too. The problem is with the shale oil industry, it requires a lot of ongoing capital expenditures, whereas the tar sands don't require as much in that way. It's all upfront. So anyway, I just want to go over some of these things because don't expect the oil price to stay down. Actually, President Obama gave us a hint that he said that don't expect him to stay down. That's what he said. Go buy yourself some stuff, toaster oven, I don't know, whatever. Buy something for your house that you can freaking last you a long time, that you need, because with the money that you might have that you would have spent on higher fuel prices for your home and your car. And while this good fortune is upon us right now. But I want to go into some things here because, first off, this is a chart, public chart, I think it's off of Wikipedia, world oil reserves by region. Now, this is a little bit skewed, but because actually recently Australia found oil reserves that are 40 times more than they thought was their entire oil reserves that they previously thought was the entire amount, which puts them on par with Saudi Arabia, but it's not cheap stuff to get out of the ground. So that's one thing. But, I'm going to tell you this, though, and I'm going to allude to a video I did back in 2013. And actually, I always reference this video on the bottom of all my silver videos, amongst other videos I put on down there. I don't know how many people look at it or what. But it was about, I don't want to really reveal the source of the story, but I just kind of talked about it. But it was about spot marking rigging in oil and silver and commodities markets. And I put down, actually in the notes, this is on my video, as of this moment, there is a major ongoing lawsuit. And this is back in 2013. This lawsuit's been going on for years. Obviously, they're pissing in the wind or something, trying to knock down the oil industry with this lawsuit. But it actually has some very important people that are bringing about this lawsuit against BP, Statoil, Royal Dutch Shell, for allegedly conspiring with Morgan Stanley to manipulate the spot price of oil. Now, I'm going to tell you this. The spot price of oil can be moved electronically any which way they want on the board, as long as there's not an actual physical shortage. In other words, if somebody can freaking buy the oil, people can. If there's enough, I know people are going to say, "What are you, a communist? You don't think there's not market? The market isn't taking over. The market's rigged. It really is." This lawsuit is not brought about by some, it's not brought about by the, Conspiracy 101 channels or anything like that. It's been brought out by, some of the top traders, and also the former director of the New York Mercantile Exchange. Okay? So it's not BS. They says that actually I put the sport market. Oh, I didn't realize I have a misspelling here. The spot market for all commodities is in fact a very obscure market that seems impenetrable to outsiders. And you might want to call it the sport market because, it's like a game, man. The game is rigged in the favor of the casino, as you've heard that so many damn times. But also it says the outcome of this lawsuit will have great implications for all commodities, spot markets, not just oil. It may cause great changes in the price of silver, gold, all kinds of commodities. But the thing is, as long as there's enough oil that's actually getting to the hands of the people that want to buy it, they can move up and down that price pretty much any way they want, man. And I also put out that buying physical silver to break the power of the elite is flawed, but buying physical silver could be a protection of one's great protection of one's savings when we have a currency crisis later on. The real power of the elite lies in oil and energy markets. At least that's the way it is currently. And you're not going to get Tesla energy. I talked about hemp, and I'm actually going to bring this up in this video. Not going to be too easy, and I'm kind of mulling the idea, how the hell would I do this? But I'm going to actually tell you some things here about, as far as oil consumption, the USA, you see it in the dark brown here, and Canada, man, we are major oil consumers. Russia, not so much. Even though they produce a hell of a lot of oil, they don't consume a lot of oil. Now, they got problems where they got to import food and other goods because they don't have that much of a domestic industry. China doesn't consume much oil. A lot of people don't drive cars, man. But I want to tell you this. In recent years, now this chart only goes up to 2005. It's another one of those Wikipedia charts, whatever the hell it is, but it should be good. The demand for oil globally has actually been going up. You know, where it's really coming on stronger, it's not coming on stronger in the United States. It's not really coming on stronger in Europe, but it's coming on stronger in Central and South America, for one. Also in the Middle East, because you'll actually notice that back here, Saudi Arabia is a major consumer of oil. This is consumers of oil per capita, okay? Per capita. This is actually consumption overall. But in other words, Asia and Oceania are basically Asia, like Singapore, you know, Hong Kong, China, Japan. Well, Japan's probably steadying out, but really where it's coming on stronger is China and India. They may not be really high up there where they're big consumers per capita, but since they got such a huge population and the middle class is growing, there's actually been a lot more oil consumption going on. That's why the price of palladium, I know the last couple of days it went down or something. Well, today I think it went up a little bit again. But that's why the price of palladium has been going up over the last few years, because of all the car production and the new middle class. They always have to have catalysts in their cars. And even if they're hybrids, they still use a lot more palladium in them, because the new middle class, even though they are small cars in China, and you know they got the they got the Tata, whatever it is, and they got other types of Suzuki cars in India that they aren't available over here in the United States. It doesn't matter. Those are all little, little straws that are consuming the existing oil supply. So no matter all this crap talk about, put it really, cleanly here, but this all this talk about the the oil prices being affected by the downturn in the economy. The economy's been downturned for a long time, man. I mean, they actually did this to mainly get at Russia. It's not mainly to get at the U.S. industry, because Saudi would have done this a while ago. They're not waiting until, they should have done it in the beginning. If they were really going after the U.S. industry and Canada's industry, they would have done it in the beginning, because that would have stopped the capital expenditures from happening, because when they were planning on a good $80 a barrel oil or more, right? That's why it's really to hurt Russia, because Russia gets most of their cash from the export of energy, natural gas, and oil. So now I want to point out something else. Like if you look at, well, this is an older chart, but right now the price of gas is probably under $2 a gallon in a lot of places. It is down here in Florida, but you got about 12-13% of the gas prices is taxed. Depends on where the state is. Some states it's a lot more tax, some places it's less. I don't know, like New York State might be pretty high, or California might be pretty high, and Georgia is pretty low, But say it's 25 cents a gallon tax, or 30 cents a gallon tax. That brings the price, it's $2 a gallon for regular. That brings the actual cost of gasoline to the retail market at like $1.70 to $1.75. And, you walk into a store, even discounted, the best, cheapest discounted store, discounted box store, and you're buying water, just plain spring water, it's $1 a gallon. And if you buy it refrigerated or if you buy some fancy water, it's usually twice that price or more. So how the hell are they producing gasoline for that kind of price? Bringing crude oil across the, pumping it out of the earth. It's not like pumping it out of the spring water. Gasoline is almost as cheap as water that you pump out of the ground locally. It's definitely not going to last. Now, also, a large amount of the traders are storing huge amounts of crude oil offshore in large container ships. Ones that have like 3 million barrels of oil and stuff like that, because they're betting the price is going to go up. And it costs them money to store it. To have those container ships sit offshore and just wait for the price to go up. So it's like, telling me it's not going to stay down. But again, I think like the Illuminati, President Obama is part of the Illuminati, man. Maybe he's controlled or not. He's one of the big boys up there. They always kind of drop you hints at stuff. He dropped us a hint. I think the price is going to go up. Realistically, oil is almost as cheap as freaking water that you buy in the store. Not water you get out of your tap, but if you buy spring water, it's at least $1 for a gallon. A lot of times it costs you $1 for a little bottle because it's in a refrigerator, or if it has a fancy name on it, it might cost you a liter or 2-liter bottle, might be $1. And that type of water is even more than gasoline when you take out the tax for gasoline. You figure gasoline, you got to take crude oil, pump it out of the ground, transport it, 3,000 miles across the ocean, bring it into a refinery, put it through the cracking thing, and from there you got to like separate everything, store it, and then you got to truck it over to the the retail gas stations, and then they have to mark up the price and they have to make money on it. Plus, all the cost of them storing it and the overhead on the gas station. And I'm like, ew, man, it's way underpriced. Now, it would be nice, I'm already showing what I was going to get at, but it would be nice if we not use gasoline and we go to like electric cars. But I can tell you one big drawback to that is if they ever had even a partial nuclear conflict, all the electronics on these electric cars are going to be fried. I mean, even if you don't get any type of radiation, and if it's just high up in the air, an EMP was just going to fry all the electronics. One of the best damn things going, and too bad it wasn't popular in the United States. It's more popular in Europe and South America. But the old-fashioned diesel-powered cars that can run any type of vegetable oil, soy oil, peanut oil, and hemp oil, because actually that's why the military uses diesel, because it's EMP proof. It's very simple. I mean, you just need some glow plugs, and that's about it, man. You just get your 12 volts, your glow plugs, and your ignition, and go, man. There's nothing to it, man. A few wires, and you're going, baby. Here you got the bus runs on soybean biodiesel. In other words, we can, that's one thing I like this idea way better, because, this is where you can actually have smaller industries or smaller businesses sell you the product of fuel for your car and your home. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to show a picture of it, but they got the Lister engine. The EPA actually kind of made it illegal, but you can buy them from India. It's a very simple engine, and you can run a EMP-proof generator set, and that thing will just run and run and run. They use them up in like Alaska, remote areas for lighting in communities that don't have electricity. A Lister engine that could run off of any kind of biodiesel, leftover cooking fat, or whatever. And that's the type of deal you really want to have. You don't want to go high tech, because one of the things, the older Mercedes would have been a damn thing, Volkswagen Rabbits and stuff. But, unfortunately, the technology on diesels gotten so freaking complicated that the new diesels would never run in a million years if there ever was some kind of EMP problem or anything like that. And they're not too good even if you're trying to run them on, other types of non-approved fuels. The older diesels can run on anything, man. You can go over to get some leftover grease from, the Greasy Spoon French fry place, and you could probably put it in a gas tank, and with a little filtration, you can run it no problem. So, but the one fuel that is a real ace is hemp. Hemp biofuel, and this is where the elite are really, they are just jackasses and a half, because we don't need genetically modified foods or anything. I mentioned some other things about breaking out and bringing out the primeval code on seeds, that there's stuff that's actually been shown that I'll say that maybe people who follow me, they already know about me mentioning this video I did before on it, but there's stuff where there's high output crops that can be modified. The seeds can be modified with electric fields before they're planted, and it brings out these electric fields or energies that they use on these seeds, brings out a much stronger DNA expression that's deep within the seed itself. And they found like wheat can grow in 6 weeks versus taking months, and they even used it on fish eggs and things like that. But in other words, and this technology has actually been done by the top pharmaceutical labs in Switzerland, but they don't want anybody. It's like it's not going to be used because they want everybody on genetically modified foods, and I know where that deal's going anyway. But the ace really is using hemp. The hemp, because hemp will grow. Actually, hempoline, as I call it, hempoline versus gasoline, it produces 10 times the amount of gas than corn. You don't need any kind of, herbicides or pesticides. It just grows really fast, and you can have a few crops a year, right? If you have the right weather. It grows only in a few months. It's like, it's like magic, basically. But that's your ace. That's your ace. Now, that could supply all our energy needs for the United States, but they won't allow it, because basically that's where the elite's power is. It's in the oil industry. Maybe they're moving away from it. They're probably going into the water industry. But right now they're still in the oil industry. Now, here's a quote from Henry Ford. Why use up the forest which for centuries in the making in the mines which required ages to lay down, if we can get the equivalent of forest and mineral products in the annual growth of hemp fields? Henry Ford. He was also a big advocate of using any type of leftover plant material as fuel for his cars. As a matter of fact, his original cars used to run on alcohol, which was produced by farmers, and gasoline, which used the crude oil from John D. Rockefeller. Actually, John D. Rockefeller went ahead and he gave $4 million to the women's suffrage movement because he wanted to get the alcohol manufacturing and sale of alcohol banned, so there'd be no competition for his crude oil. But Henry Ford actually was, it was, I know there's some controversy about Henry Ford, but I think Henry Ford was a good guy overall. Henry Ford actually had the right idea all the way. And this is actually the technology we need to explore. I need to explore it too, but I'm like, God, how much stuff can I do? But the real key was Rudolf Diesel. Now, here's a stamp that's commemorative of Rudolf Diesel. But Rudolf Diesel, his original engine was actually designed to run on hemp oil or peanut oil. That's what it was designed. And he probably, it's not proven that he was murdered, but he died of suspicious circumstances. Very suspicious. I just want to state we're probably coming up into a major fuel crisis, although it doesn't seem that way right now. it's not going to take much to, set something where it goes off to the races the other way. But I do not personally like the idea of, electronic cars, electric and everything like that, because what happens with electronics, they're sensitive to, well, it not only could be from nuclear weapon, which doesn't have to be, a killing nuclear weapon, it just has to be a high altitude aerial burst over 10,000 feet. Well, that can knock out all your electronics in 2 seconds flat, and everybody's screwed with all their fancy electric cars. The real way, to be independent is actually through hemp. And that we can actually use as a fuel for all our vehicles and our home heating, and even, well, I don't know if it'll work on kerosene heaters. I know I've been putting out, actually, my kerosene heater has been working great on plain BP diesel, which has about double the normal biodiesel in it. I don't know, other people having bad experiences with that. I don't know if they're using BP though. But, it might be where you can actually use hemp oil or some type of 100% biodiesel from plant material that can be used for home heating too. And, this can actually, this will destroy the elite. But, on our part, it takes a hell of a lot of work. Believe me, I already know, because I'm like trying to figure out how I want to do this. And I'm thinking I don't want to do all this garbage because it's a lot of work. I could put a VW diesel engine in my Suzuki Samurai, but I have to do a lot of junk to do that before I even start to get the engine. So anyway, but just want to point out though, do not expect these prices to stay low. No way in hell. As a matter of fact, what you ought to be doing, well, I know what I'm doing, is I'm already trying to figure out ways to extend mileage on vehicles and things like that. And I actually have a compressed natural gas dual fuel car. I already had one. I have one of those puppies. And I realized though, the price of oil and gasoline might boomerang right through the freaking roof. Although I think that's going to be the last time it's going to happen. Because after that, everybody's going to say, to hell with gas. They're going to go to electric or something or whatever they're going to do. But, we actually have the power to break the freaking oil companies. We always did. But nobody, I don't know what it is, man. It's sales and marketing or something, Don't buy a diesel engine. Don't buy this. Don't buy that. Just, buy this instead. And they nail you every time. But Henry Ford actually had the right idea. He wanted to make cars, even the bodies, out of hemp, right? He even did some experimental cars with that. And they showed him hitting with a big hammer and stuff, and he didn't break. And, he had the right idea, man, all the way. So anyway, I think the real solution is going to be hemp biofuel or some type of biofuel that uses other types of plant life, because we're going to be in a major energy crisis. And I don't like it when you have, well, basically what goes on here is just like I said. They got, there's a major ongoing lawsuit against BP, Statoil, Royal Dutch Shell for allegedly conspiring with Morgan Stanley. In other words, if you have to have fuel oil for your house, you have to have gasoline for your car, and but no small business is going to make that stuff. They got you. And if you believe the market is controlling that price, the true market, bull. It's rigged. It's always been rigged. And I just have to point out, this is actually my writing in here, but I got this from, I didn't really want to put out the exact story because, it probably is not, you're not supposed to put out the exact story on YouTube, but I can tell you about what I read. And I know that if you could probably Google it very easily. There's ongoing lawsuits against, the oil industry for rigging the spot price of oil and also all the commodities. And if you can't just, a small business is not going to be able to just open up a store and sell you gasoline or fuel oil for your house. hang it up. But a small business could make biofuel. They could. But you have to have the stuff to use it. So I just warning people, I think this is coming up. And when it does, there's going to be a mad rush for, like, how the hell do we get, because if the price of fuel goes up from, I think the price of fuel actually is going to wind up going up way to hell over 5. I think it's going to be like $8 a gallon. Although that sounds ludicrous today. When it goes up, it's going to go up way beyond where it should. Because they're not going to be able to just turn the spigots on really fast in the United States. It's only going to take a certain amount of things to happen in the Middle East where that oil gets cut off. And, since all the industry's been knocked down pretty bad in the United States, it's not going to go up right away. You only need a few percentage shortfall of supply not meeting demand for the price to go up exponentially. If your shortfall is like 3%, that don't mean the price goes up 3%. That means the price goes up way more than double. That's how crazy it is. And so, I think Obama, although I'm not a fan of Obama, I think he's warning us big time what's coming up. What's coming up. And remember, Asia and Oceania, even though they have a low per capita consumption of oil, they got so many people that they're actually taking a larger slice of the pie of the global oil consumption overall. Demand has always been going up, despite what they're telling you. And, I know people are going to tell me the spot market's not rigged. What are you, non-capitalist? I'm not I am a capitalist. I realize what's going on in the markets. It isn't capitalism. It's rigged, man. It's freaking one big whooping monopoly, man. There's not that many freaking people that control the price of oil. Now, right now, they're doing it to, nail Russia or whatever. And, I don't even know where that's going to lead to because, if you look back in World War II, there's been allegations that they tried to get Japan to fire the first shot by cutting off their oil supply. Maybe they were trying to get Russia to fire the first shot by, causing them to have such economic hardship that they get it more aggressive. And there's ultimate goals out of all this garbage. You know what I mean? But us as end users and just people trying to survive, and just trying to warn people that I think the price of gas is going to go way to hell up. It's like way too low. Basically, if you had a company in Saudi pumping plain water, say that, and just transporting it over to a refinery, then they divide it up and then they truck it over across the United States. I don't even see how it could be that low in price compared to the price of water from a local spring. Come on, figure all the transportation costs involved without even figuring out the cost of pumping the oil out and stuff in the refinery cost, right? Just the transportation and distribution cost should be bringing it up to $2 a gallon, right? So I don't think, it ain't going to stay this low, man. And remember, $18 trillion in debt. Yeah, the U.S. dollar looks pretty good relative to other things, but all the currencies are crapping out. Relatively speaking, the U.S. dollar is looking good. Yeah, we got deflation going on, but I'm also going to tell you this. I think the deflation is, maybe this is not, I can't prove it, but, often before hyperinflation, they have this period of deflation. And it's almost like the analogy would be like what happens when there's a tsunami. Before the tsunami, the water rushes out. Just like you see all this open land on the ocean. And guess what that means? That means you're thinking, oh, wow, the water's going out. The ocean's drying up. Nope, that's because the tsunami's coming in. That might be really what's going on with this deflation we're having right now. So, anyway, and us as very high oil consumers in the United States, if the price of oil goes up, the middle class is going to get squished to hell unless the middle class goes to, Yeah, I'd have to say I would opt for biodiesel, because small industry, middle class industry, can actually make and produce that stuff themselves. It doesn't have to be BP or Royal Dutch Shell or Standard Oil or any of that, Exxon or any of those yo-yos, or Rosneft in Russia, whatever the hell it is. So, just as a warning, I think this is, and again, the reason they're storing oil on these 3 million barrel oil tankers and paying big bucks for that right now to store it out, on the ocean, and they're not bringing it on shore just because they expect the price to go up. So you're talking about experts laying their money down on paying rent, basically, on an oil tanker to just park it out in the middle of the ocean till the price goes up. It's a pretty damn good, indication that it's going to go up, right? Probably quite a bit. So that's the warning, man. Anyway, what can I say? I don't know. I don't know what to do about it either, man. I'm thinking, man, I don't know what the hell. I'm probably going to, I'd like to get 100 miles a gallon. That would be cool. Anyway, but we'll see. I got the Harley. It gets 50. The Harley gets 50 miles a gallon. That's pretty good.